Hello, people. I have got some great news. The IRS might send every Social Security beneficiary a $6,000 direct payment in the coming months. $66,000 lumped into your bank accounts, no strings attached. Now, I know that sounds too good to be true, but my inside sources are telling me this is very much being seriously discussed behind closed doors in Washington. We'll break down all the crucial details on this developing story that could impact over 65 million people if this CE 6,000 per person stimulus payment gets approved. We're talking about an economic neutron bomb. GE, take out your notepads because we're investigating every aspect of this potential $6,000 Social Security payment. I'll drop information that will blow your mind, so let's hurry for a few minutes. Reveal everything you need to know about this game-changing stimulation update. Welcome to Wealth Boss, your trusted source for Social Security and stimulus check updates for American seniors, including SSDI and VA recipients. I hope you're all doing well. Let's get right into it today. We've got a huge development to cover regarding a proposed one-time $6,000 stimulus payments specifically for Social Security recipients. This is some potentially massive news that could impact millions of Americans, so you'll want to listen up, all right? With that out of the way, let's get into what could be one of the biggest stimulus stories of the year. So far as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic caused historic economic disruption across the entire nation over the past few years. In response, the federal government rolled out several rounds of stimulus checks and relief payments aimed at supporting struggling Americans through that immensely challenging period, while the pandemic itself has thankfully subsided significantly. The brutal economic consequences are still being felt by millions today. Rampant inflation has caused the cost of groceries, gas utilities, and just about everything else to skyrocket over the past year. Plus, for folks living on a fixed income like Social Security beneficiaries, these rising costs have created an extreme financial hardship. A recent survey indicated that 40% of older Americans had to use their tiny retirement savings for food and medicine. This alarming data has prompted lawmakers and advocacy groups to call for targeted financial relief for seniors and disabled people who rely on their monthly Social Security checks. Credible inside reports from multiple high-ranking government sources suggest the IRS may have finally gotten the message. The IRS is considering a $6,000 one-time emergency stimulus payment to all Social Security recipients. Beneficiaries. Let me repeat that we could soon be looking at $6,000 checks going out to over 65 million retirees and disabled Americans nationwide who receive Social Security income. This vast amount of money could provide crucial relief to so many people struggling with the rising cost of living. While full details are still being ironed out, here's a quick overview of what we know about this proposed $6,000 stimulus payment. Beyond being an SS beneficiary, the money is meant to help fixed-income people cope with inflation and rising expenditures. Sources say payments could start within 2-3 months if approved again. This is still a proposed plan that would need final authorization to move forward, but the fact that it has reportedly made it this far through the pipeline and has the IRS actively preparing for implementation is very promising. A $6,000 cash infusion might save millions of seniors and disabled people from inflation and rising costs for basic goods. 44 low-income recipients receiving average monthly Social Security payments of $100 or less might use a $6,000 lump sum to catch up on past due housing expenditures. A large portion of Social Security beneficiaries live paycheck to paycheck, so most of this emergency cash would go toward food, rent, medical bills, and other basic goods and services. This type of increased consumer spending activity could help struggling sectors like retail, dining, and service industries while giving the overall economy a timely shot in the arm. It's essentially a form of economic stimulus by getting money into the hands of lower and fixed-income people who are more likely to spend it quickly rather than sit on it or invest it. Financial relief for those of the most economically challenged residents affected hardest by inflation. But this proposal is not final. While there appears to be growing bipartisan support for delivering some form of financial relief package aimed specifically at bolstering Social Security beneficiaries with reduced purchasing power, critics of this $6,000 stimulus payment are already voicing Famous figures from both sides of the aisle have questioned the wisdom of sending out billions of dollars in checks without means testing to ensure they're targeted to low-income households in need. They argue that high-earning retirees would unnecessarily receive these funds, undermining the purpose. There are also concerns about the plan's cost to the federal government, which could exceed. High detractors say an expenditure of this magnitude that could exacerbate economic issues must be thoroughly scrutinized. Moving this proposed stimulus package through Congress, as well as debate over potential eligibility requirements or income thresholds, could further delay the process and push back any timeline for the distribution of payments. Still, we must stress once again that all of this is still hypothetical at the moment, based solely on leaked internal reports. The IRS has not officially confirmed or commented on these plans, though credible sources insist the agency is preparing preliminary rollout procedures just in case. If we realistically assume another 60-90 days for stakeholders to arrive at an agreed-upon finalized version, we could potentially see the first tranche of these $6,000 stimulus checks hitting bank accounts of Social Security beneficiaries in late September at the absolute earliest. I know that's a frustrating timeline for those anxiously awaiting this much-needed financial relief. But the government bureaucracy does tend to move slowly. We'll do our best to continue monitoring all the latest developments and provide updates with any breaking news around this story as it progresses. And of course, we'll be sure to analyze the full details and eligibility guidelines once they are officially rolled out. It will be crucial to determine exactly who qualifies to receive the payment, and if there are any nuanced stipulations or phase-in thresholds implemented. This could have major implications in terms of the ultimate individual and economic impacts this proposed $6,000 stimulus provides. So even if it does move forward, the devil will very much be in the details around determining what the full extent and limitations end up being. First off, the sheer dollar amount of $6,000 per person is staggering, especially when you consider it would be going out to over 65 million Americans. We're talking about a stimulus package that could realistically cost the federal government in excess of $400 billion, far eclipsing any of the prior pandemic relief efforts in terms of overall price tag. From a pure economic stimulus perspective, releasing that mammoth sum of $400+ billion directly into the hands of American consumers all at once would undoubtedly provide a seismic jolt to the economy. In the short term, increased demand from that cash influx could foreseeably boost job growth, increase revenues for struggling businesses in retail and hospitality, and re-energize consumer spending, which accounts for over 2/3 of your economic activity. But critics may worry about the long-term inflationary effects. The Federal Reserve has already been aggressively hiking interest rates to combat stubbornly high inflation. Adding $400 billion in stimulus to high inflation above 5% could reverse some of these efforts and force the Fed to consider higher rate hikes. That concludes today's video. Thanks for watching. Do like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, take care and stay financially savvy.